Since its release, Bonus doubled. Clawing for Dolls has achieved a score of 7.4 and a box office gross of 3.3 billion renminbi in less than 3 months. This comedy, directed by Yan Fei and Peng Damo, starring Shen Teng and Molly, has led many people to describe it as a thriller. After watching the film, my first reaction was that the movie subtly critiques and satirizes today's educational issues. This could almost be called a Chinese version of Shutter Island. Let's analyze the movie through the lens of a thriller. The male protagonist, Ma Chengang, is a top-tier wealthy businessman, but he is mentally uneasy. His eldest son has been abandoned like a useless little pawn, and his younger son, due to excessive pampering from his grandparents, is fat and lazy, growing up to be essentially a good-for-nothing. He fears that the hard-earned family wealth will be squandered by the next generation. Despite being such a successful businessman, Ma Chengang goes to extremes in educating his children. He names his youngest son Ma Jia, with the implication that he should inherit the family business. He decides to use all of his resources to change this child. He moves his wife and son back to the dilapidated building where he grew up, unwilling to let go of his past life. He recreates that environment for his son. His misguided belief is that his son should be raised in poverty. He even spends a lot of money to build an underground bunker under the old building to monitor his son and correct his bad habits. He hires an education expert to play the role of his son's paralyzed grandmother, and Ma Jia is forced to chop wood, cook herbal medicine, and feed it to his grandmother. His father goes as far as hiring scholars to pretend to be the neighbors. One day, a teacher brings Mr. Jia to visit a poor student. When they learn that Ma Jia is bad at English, they arrange for the bedridden teacher to give him lessons. Every time Ma Jia leaves for school, his grandmother, in a wheelchair, immediately alerts a group of bodyguards disguised as ordinary people, such as a street cleaner or a breakfast vendor, who are all part of the surveillance. Ma Jia is forced to run 5 kilometers to school every day and is constantly under surveillance. His encounters with others are all part of a well-coordinated plan, even when other kids try to invite him for a ride in their fancy cars. This situation is a metaphor for the intense materialism and comparison culture in today's society, highlighting how the competitive picking of fathers era has tainted the innocence of children. Back at home, Ma Chengang's parents reluctantly change into plain clothes to avoid drawing attention. They try to secretly improve Ma Jia's life, but everything is thwarted. The school librarian subtly recommends books that are not suitable for his age, and even when the neighbor's grandmother is washing clothes, she discusses physics with Ma Jia. The goal is to embed a sense of discipline in him. During his birthday, when his grandparents almost let something slip, Ma Chengang cleverly pulls his son into the room, and the teacher promptly intervenes. When Ma Jia shows how meticulous he is in calculating every expense at home, Ma Chengang is pleased. He decides to entrust his son with managing all their money. In one scene, Ma Jia sees his father's worn-out shoes and decides to save up to buy him a new pair. This is a moment of triumph for his father, as the child has finally learned the importance of saving. However, Ma Jia does not realize that everything he does is being monitored. One night, Ma Chengang applies anesthetic to his son's legs, and the next morning, Ma Jia finds one of his legs numb. The doctors tell him that he won't be able to receive professional training due to this condition. Ma Chengang has once again sabotaged his son's future, driven by his fear that his wealth might be squandered by his offspring. In an effort to teach his son financial skills and improve his English, Ma Chengang uses various methods, including hiring foreign vendors to engage in business transactions with Ma Jie. Though Ma Jie longs for a simple life and enjoys playing games like other children, his father continues to create situations where Ma Jie has to make difficult choices. When Ma Jie finally manages to buy a new tablet with his savings, it is secretly ruined by the bodyguards. He tries to redeem himself by taking his mother and grandmother out for a nice meal, but his mother and grandmother get sick from overeating. Later, Ma Jie is deeply concerned when he sees his grandmother coughing up blood. This becomes another turning point where Ma Jie feels immense guilt and begins to question everything around him. The story then unfolds with Ma Jie growing up, increasingly aware of his family's manipulation of his life. As a high school student, he begins to see the contradictions in his world. After discovering that his father has been controlling his every move, he becomes determined to find out the truth. Ultimately, Ma Chengang's strict, controlling methods leave a long-lasting psychological impact on his son. The film cleverly portrays how, even with the best intentions, the misguided actions of parents can have devastating consequences on their children's lives. Despite Ma Chengang's well-meaning actions, he creates a world of suffocating control for Ma Jie, who ends up carrying the burden of a predetermined life path. The film mixes dark humor with a serious message about the dangers of overbearing parenting and the pressures children face in a highly competitive society. It's a poignant commentary on the importance of allowing children to grow and learn independently, rather than trying to control every aspect of their lives.